Let's strand.
Okay.
Put on your bridge boots and walk down my newly constructed road.
Excuse me while I poop in this grenade and throw it at you. Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Newsman, joined by Die Newsman.
Oh, that's brilliant, Scott.
Isn't it? It's just, it's the thing. And everyone's playing Death Stranding, including us. I'm about 25 hours in. Josh is something close to
26.5 hours in.
Sweet Jesus
I
Lord.
haven't slept, Scott, or eaten in about 3 days.
I was up until about 2:15 in the morning.
I'm too tired. This is really delirious.
It's good.
I'm fueled by the roads that I'm going to go home and make tonight.
Country roads. I think there's something about this game that is absolutely ludicrous. From the pee and poop grenades you can throw at different players or different enemies to the general sort of structure overall that I just wanted to get in here and just talk about. I think for as much as Kojima was like, this is a new genre, I'm doing these new things, and there's been some criticism of that. I saw a few different reviews just saying like, look, it is just an open world game. There's not really anything that's that special about it. I completely wholeheartedly 100% disagree. I think this is a new genre, and I think this is worth talking about. So, and we can pick apart general gameplay impressions as well, but I think the thing to sort of hang the new genre label on is that he's made this thing where everyone is simultaneously playing at the same time, although you don't see other players. You see remnants of them. You're always seeing things that they've left behind. And across the whole game, you are sort of coming together to build roads, to build towers, to build different things that'll help each other. Maybe your bike runs out of electricity and you can put a generator down, or you'll come across one that someone else has made. And that's the thing that I don't think anyone else has ever done, which kind of blows me away.
The online connectivity part of it was something that I didn't actually pay too much attention to in the run-up to launch. I knew it was going to be there, obviously, but I didn't realize how integral of a role it actually plays in the final game, because even though similar games have had similar systems before, like Dark Souls lets you leave messages down for people and stuff like that, it's never connected in this way, at least for me. The idea that you're progressing through this game and you're seeing more and more stuff and buildings and facilities from other people, and they help you get from one place to the other. It's so satisfying and so sort of like well-meaning and good-hearted. I want to sort of help people finish their structures. I want other people to finish sort of my structures, and I like that there's no sort of griefing option. I think any other game would have given you the option to sort of, a risk-reward, let you mess around with people's structures. I tore down one person's bridge.
I was going to say, you can destroy stuff.
Yeah, but I have felt guilt about that for the past 20 hours. I was thinking about it last night. I was driving along my road that I constructed and put so much time and effort into, and I thought, this thing wouldn't exist without other people helping me along the way. I might have put the finishing touches on it. I might have started the foundation.
Dropped off these special alloys.
If it wasn't like from the sort of help I've had from others. And I thought about that bridge that I tore down, and I thought, some pure soul out there would have wanted to build that and make it their own thing, and I just came along.
You just killed it.
And killed the dream dead.
The thing that I did was, there's a bit later on, we're not going to do any spoilers at all, but there is a waterfall towards the west of the map, and it's a giant, big, wide waterfall, and on the on the top of the river where it meets the waterfall itself, people have left a series of ladders in between the rocks to let you get across. There was also a rope to sort of help you get to sort of like get down in the first place to even attempt this crossing. And the prompt was gather rope, hold the button to gather rope, and I thought that meant get me the rope so I can climb down. No, that means dismantle it.
Yeah, it does.
So I just destroyed it. So I had to fall off the cliff to get down into the river, and I almost died. There's an animation they've put in the game where he stumbles forward like a lot, like when you're right on the edge of something, and then he like pulls himself back. And I think that's Kojima just going, hey, almost topped yourself.
Right.
There,
okay. I do love this game. I worried that I wouldn't, to be honest. I thought I was going to like it, but I have, like I said at the start, not stopped playing it. But there is a moment in this game where Norman Reedus sort of trips over his own arse all the time, and I was stood still right one spot, and I had a bunch of stuff in my back, and I kind of just headbutted this facility, and it went flying all over the place. And then any other game, I'd have been so annoyed. I'd have been so frustrated. And here, I just took on the nose. Maybe it's because I'm delirious. I feel like we're making no points here.
This is the point. The thing with him, because I love that they recorded a bunch of Norman Reedus dialogue, where he's just like, oh, for God's, come on. And he's just like, he says something like, eyes up, like mother or whatever, and it's just like, yeah, of course, Mr. Reedus. My overall point is these impressions, though. I think that because of the way that the systems come together, like you said, the Dark Souls comparison, like Fable 2, you could see other players as like motes of light that would sort of move around and stuff. But no one's ever done it where you're building structures for other single players. Like, in a single player game, you're building and sharing structures between each other. As far as I know, that's never been done. And I think that ability of coming together, building stuff together, that's one thing. You can see there's shared servers in Minecraft or whatever, but you don't have the backing of a narrative, you don't have the backing of a single player thing. And there's a couple of missions in this, again, staying away from spoilers, where you need to get somewhere in a certain amount of time. Something is imperative and you must get to this place within a certain amount of time. And if the server that you're in has already clocked that space, maybe people have already put bridges down or ladders, or they've already sort of helped pave the way, or maybe because you've been playing on this certain space for a while, you'll know different routes like the back of your hand. Maybe you've put some bridges down or whatever, and they've been helped, they've been built with other players. That means that when you get that mission, it's well, I know exactly how I'm going to get there, and it's a custom route that we've built to help me finish this better. That's a feeling that I don't think anyone's ever had in gaming.
No, it's brilliant. There was a mission I was doing last night and it was a similar thing. I had a fragile bit of cargo and I needed to get over a rocky bit of terrain that I'd just come from that had no buildings at all because it hadn't come online yet. But once I put it online and I walked back out the door and I went to go down the route, I saw that there was a sort of a safe house there that allowed you to get vehicles, and someone had left a vehicle. So I used that last one to get where I needed to.
Communally shared vehicles.
Efficiently. It's brilliant because when you get the game, when it comes to sort of vehicles and stuff that you craft, you sort of have this feeling that you want to cling on to them. So like you do in other games, like you do, you've made this thing so that's yours. That's not the case here. Everything is kind of communal and shared. So you might build a car, but if you put it in a garage, anyone else can take it. And that might sound annoying, but it's not, because then you do get these moments where I was in need of a vehicle right then.
Yes.
And there just so happened to be one left, and I took it and got to my destination much quicker and much more efficiently than I would have otherwise.
That thing, it's worth pointing out that you don't lose it. The thing with that is if you build 4 cars of any type, whether it's trucks, bikes, or whatever, then the fourth one is always recycled. The last one you used always gets put in the communal side. So you are sort of giving back to people as you keep building stuff.
Yeah.
So you're not losing the thing that you have.
No, it's it's also if you get so far away from the vehicle as well,
Yes.
I think as well, then it sort of resets and it goes. Yeah.
And I think that one other thing that I wanted to touch on is, because a lot of the reviews talked about, and Kojima himself said that he was aware of the fact that the game doesn't get good for a handful of hours. And I think he cited about 20 hours, which is kind of became the case in the reviews as well. I disagree. I think that it's kind of engaging from the get-go, but I know exactly what he means. And something else that really struck out to me is that this is a different way to make an open world game, in terms of especially what we see in this generation, where the vast majority of other open world games, your Assassin's Creed, your Divisions, whatever, you get a handful of mechanics at the beginning and you only repeat them for 100 or 200 hours. Maybe the numbers go up and you can do more damage, but you're not fundamentally changing the game. You're not getting new stuff that you can fundamentally change the way that you play. This thing, like I said, I'm about 25, or cumulatively, we're about 25 hours average-ish in. You're still getting new items and new ways to move and new traversal options and things that ease the process that you had at the beginning. But narratively, thematically, I still think that reinforces the fact that you are getting the country back online.
Yes.
Whether that's through all the structures that you see on it, you load up your fresh save and it's people have made some towers and a bridge and a generator that wasn't there before. And also, because I've been playing for a while, I have access to all these different things and I can make the most of it. That communal sensibility of everything coming together, that's the hook for this game.
You're absolutely right. This is sort of the biggest talking point for me, because like you said, when I was coming into this game, there were a lot of reviewers and comments from people who made it who said, stick with it because it gets good after 10 hours. And then it gets better after 10 hours. And then I started playing it and I just thought, I don't know what these people are on about, because I was playing through episode 2 and I was messaging you and Benro and you both saying, move on. And I was thinking, I should, because the story, I want to see what happens with the story, but I was having so much fun and I was getting to grips with sort of the lay of the land. I was getting my porter grade up. I was having so much fun just doing these small scale missions and building something tangible that I couldn't leave it. And eventually I did move on, but there is a great sense of progression from moment number 1 where you are tripping over your own arse and you can't carry anything on your back and you're falling over rocks. Everything is an ordeal. And then when you're 10 hours in, you get a new mode of transportation, you get to carry more, and it keeps progressing like that. And it makes sense within the narrative because you're putting America back together, you're getting more help, so it makes sense that you have now you have access to roads and you have access to more materials to get around. And that sense of progression is really the thing that makes me want to play it non-stop, because I look back on what I've accomplished in this game and I am so proud of myself, Scott. I look back, when I talk about these roads all the way through this sort of video, but there is something really satisfying from having nothing, make everything being a struggle to get from point A to point B, and then having that straight shot from one end of the map to the other that you've built. in that you sort of built with your bare hands along with other people, and that communal sense of sort of victory is awesome. But I do concede that might be a problem. You tell someone that, oh, it only gets better after 10 hours, and that's a major barrier for entry, and I don't, assume that anyone and everyone is going to be okay with that. But
no, of course.
if you do stick with it, there is an immense satisfaction.
I still
that comes
think, to address that comment, I still think that like there is more than enough from the very beginning. I still think that the act of traversing the 3D space and like exploring and climbing, and because from the very beginning you have ladders and ropes, and it's Breath of the Wild. Like you have this 3D space, this 3D level that they've designed. It's like turning an open world into one giant level, which is something that I loved about Breath of the Wild as well. There's enough to that. Something that I was going to mention though is like because you said about different roles in the world and like building like roads together or building items together. In Dark Souls, in Dark Souls in general, once you sort of get through that story, and I did this the most in Dark Souls 3, but like once you finish the boss battle in that, you can leave down your summon sign and go, look, if anyone's struggling, let me know and I'll beam in. I'll just beam in. And I love that they sort of perfected that in terms of the server sync and the speed of it in Dark Souls 3, which is the idea of communally helping out. You can just be, if you want to just exist in this world in Dark Souls, as someone who beams in, helps someone defeat a boss, and then just like does like a bow and disappears, and you know that you've done good and you've helped that person along. That's the feeling that's in this as well. And I like the idea that if you want, you can just deviate away from the main story and just like fill your truck up full of like metals and alloys and stuff, and just be that person that drives around the game world, just helping out, just building structures, making sure that, there's a barren landscape, I'll put a generator here.
Yeah.
And like that is so valuable.
And they get the balance just right, because obviously the first time you go through an area, you don't have this network synced up. So it is just sort of you on your lonesome trying to forge a path, trying to forge a unique path. You aren't sort of, helped throughout the entire game, but then you can, once you have conquered that area, once you have made that adventure, then you can help other people, you can make things more efficient. And that sort of loop gets the best of both worlds. It gets that sense of you as kind of this isolated sort of, adventurer who's never been to these sort of locations before, who was really connecting the world together. But then you have that sort of helping hand of, I've done this, I've forged this path. And there's nothing more satisfying than seeing the little pop-ups on the left-hand side of the screen that says, someone has used a road you've rebuilt. Someone
Here's 5,000 likes.
Here's 5,000 likes. Someone has used a path that you sort of were the first to put down. And that is awesome. That feels like you're really sort of, I don't know, it's a feeling that I've gotten from this game that, I'm probably going to be corrected down in the comments. That people are going to say, well, X, Y, and Z had this feature, but
I hope so.
For me, it's never been implemented in such a strong and sort of confident sort of singular way as this.
One of the things that, just to sort of wrap this up, the general sort of sensibility, the thing that Kojima's like coded this game to represent is something that he mentioned he was inspired by in the development process, which was this idea that he looked into the general sort of way stations that exist on Mount Fuji, and the idea that when people go up Mount Fuji, there are these sort of like small little like way stations, places you can stop off or whatever, and people will leave little messages for each other, just sort of general stuff like keep going, or like, this is why I'm climbing the mountain, or whatever. And over time, everybody communally gets to the top. And he said he loved the idea of that. And it's something that he was just saying, like that sort of general sensibility, there's a Japanese word for it, I forget what it is, but that general idea of everyone working together to conquer something, ultimately, that's what he wanted to sort of like go for with Death Stranding. And that's the intrinsic quality of it. And it doesn't map itself that much to other gameplay formulas and tropes. The real feel of it, like the real sort of value in it, is playing that sense of everything coming together, which you do get over time. I think that the beginning of it is intentionally meant to be a starting point, and you're meant to feel like, it should feel like you're forcing a country back online, or forcing a country back together. So the opening is like a deliberately slower paced, but for me that only reinforces the feeling of everyone coming together over time.
I agree. I mean, for me the opening hours weren't even like not enjoyable. I can see how people might get annoyed about like everything is such a chore, but when you get to what that means is so powerful.
Even then, the movement's fun.
It's fine. Yeah,
like I had a blast with it. Like he stumbles around and stuff, but that's kind of just like, it's arcadey. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of mitigate it by getting used to the way the balance works and stuff. But whatever. Let us know what you think down in the comments if you've picked up Death Stranding, or maybe you're still on the fence based on the fact that there are so many different opinions out there. But for now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
I'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Crypto bio.
Eat this.
No.